5 years. That's how long it had been since I last saw her, Angela. 5 years since I walked out of that courthouse with a pen in my hand and nothing left in my chest but dust and ruin. That divorce wasn't just the end of a marriage. It was a goddamn funeral, and I buried the last bit of myself with it. She cheated. No dramatic screaming match. No public spectacle. Just a phone left unlocked and a message that read, "I can still taste you from last night." I never said a word. I just handed her the phone, nodded once, and walked away. If she wanted another man so bad, she could have him. Along with the house, the car, and every lie she ever told. I started over, new state, new job, new name on my mailbox. I didn't take kids because there weren't any. At least, that's what I believed. That belief shattered on a Tuesday morning. The kind of gray-ski day that makes everything feel heavier than it should. I was drinking burnt coffee, reviewing invoices on my laptop, when the knock came. Not the friendly tap-tap of a neighbor borrowing sugar. This was urgent. Official. I opened the door and saw two officers, one older with crow's feet and a jaw like stone, the other young, eyes scanning everything behind me. "Mr. Alan Reed?" the older one asked. "Yeah. What's this about?" I asked, instinctively blocking the doorway with my body. "We need you to come with us. There's been an incident. 2 minors were found unattended in your vehicle parked behind the Westfield Mall." My blood went cold. "What?" "2 children, Mr. Reed. They said their names. They told mall security you were their father." "No. That's not possible. I don't have kids." They looked at each other, confusion replacing authority for a second. The younger one pulled out a phone, tapped the screen, and held it up. A photo. 2 kids, a boy and a girl, maybe 4 or 5. Messy hair. Big brown eyes. Sitting in the backseat of a truck that looked a hell of a lot like mine. "No," I whispered. "That's not my truck. License plate matches." "Then 2. Sir, we need you to come with us." I froze. Somewhere between panic and denial. But I didn't fight them. Didn't say another word until I was in the back of the squad car. My reflection stared back at me in the glass, older, harder, a man with nothing to lose. And yet, something inside me cracked. I was booked. Fingerprinted. Sat in a cell while my mind clawed at answers. Hours passed. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like flies around a corpse. Finally, a detective walked in, paper in hand, face unreadable. "Mr. Reed," he said, placing a file on the table, "I think it's time you tell us everything about your ex-wife." The name hit me like a freight train. Angela Monroe. "I haven't spoken to her in years," I said. "We had no kids. I was told she couldn't have any." The detective opened the file and slid a document across the table. A birth certificate. Then another. Father, Alan Reed. Mother, Angela Monroe. My hand shook. My name was there. Ink on paper. But "I never signed this," I said. "That's not my signature." The detective leaned back. "We're starting to think you're not the bad guy here. The kids said their mom dropped them off in your truck while you were shopping. They haven't seen her since." I stared at the paper, trying to make sense of a lie so deep it had become law. "Where is she?" I asked. The detective didn't blink. "That's what we'd like to know." The interrogation room smelled like stale sweat and cheap disinfectant. I sat there, numb, while that piece of paper burned a hole through every memory I thought I had. 2 birth certificates. My name on both. And a pair of kids out there, real, living, breathing evidence of a life I never consented to. "I want a handwriting analysis," I told the detective. My voice didn't shake. I wasn't pleading. I was daring them to dig. He raised an eyebrow. "We'll get our forensics team on it. But I'll tell you what's interesting, Mr. Reed. This isn't the first time your ex has pulled a vanishing act." He flipped open a second file and turned it around. Angela's mugshot. Dated 3 years after we split. Shoplifting. Fraud. 1 count of impersonation. She'd been booked under a different last name, Harper. She posted bail, skipped town, and disappeared again. I exhaled slowly. And no one thought to tell me she used my name to file paperwork? Fake addresses. Shell companies. Burner phones. "She's good at disappearing," he said. "But now she's left 2 kids behind, and she did it in your truck." I leaned forward. "Explain that part." "We found your vehicle unlocked. No forced entry. No sign of hot wiring. And the kids had juice boxes and sandwiches, packed like they were expecting a road trip, not abandonment." My head spun. I didn't go to the mall that day. My truck was parked outside my house. "Check the security camera footage from my street," I said. "You'll see I didn't move the truck." He nodded. "Already pulled. We're cross-referencing it now." Then you'll see I was set up. He didn't say anything for a while. Just studied me like he was trying to figure out what kind of man I was. Finally, he stood up. We're releasing you. For now. But don't leave town. We might need you for a formal custody hearing if this thing gets worse. Worse? I almost laughed. I stepped out of that station a free man legally, but inside, I was a wreck of unresolved questions. My truck was already back in my driveway when I returned, clean as if it had been through a detailing. But I noticed tiny smudges on the back windows. Small handprints. A half-finished juice pouch wedged under the seat. She left them there. Angela had planted her kids, our kids, allegedly, in my truck, and vanished like smoke. I didn't sleep that night. Not because of the police. Not even because of the kids. But because of her. What game was she playing? Why now? The next day, a knock came at my door. Not the cops this time. A woman stood on my porch, mid-30s, tired eyes, holding the hand of the little girl from the photo. She looked me dead in the eyes. Are you Alan Reed? Who's asking? I replied, gripping the edge of the door like I was bracing for impact. My name's Dana. I'm the kid's babysitter. Angela hasn't come home in 3 days. She left me a voicemail, told me if anything happened, I should bring them here. She said you were their real father. I swallowed hard. I'm not. I didn't know. Dana looked down at the little girl, who clutched a worn stuffed animal like a life raft. She's scared. They both are. And if you're not their dad, then they don't have anyone. That's when the boy peeked out from behind her. Brown hair. Dark eyes. He looked just like me when I was 5. And right then, I felt it. That slow, icy trickle of truth. She'd use my name. She'd use my face. And maybe, she'd use my DNA. I let them in. What else could I do? Dana stepped carefully into the living room like she didn't want to leave footprints behind. The kids followed, quiet, clutching each other's hands, like they'd been dropped into a world too loud, too strange. The girl, Lucy, sat cross-legged on the couch, that stuffed rabbit clutched against her ribs like armor. The boy, Sam, stared at me with cautious eyes. He didn't flinch, didn't blink, just watched. Angela said you were their father, Dana repeated, her voice low. She didn't leave much else. Just a voicemail and an envelope I'm supposed to give you. She reached into her purse and handed me a thick manila envelope. No return address. No postage. Just my name, printed in Angela's handwriting, sharp and neat, like always. I opened it. Inside, a forged paternity acknowledgement form. My signature, photocopied. Hospital documents, birth records, immunizations, all listing me as the father. And a handwritten letter. Alan, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Don't try to find me. It's better this way for all of us. The kids are yours. I know you'll doubt it. I know you'll curse me. But deep down, you know I'm not lying. You knew I was pregnant when we divorced. You just didn't want to ask. I didn't tell you back then because I wasn't sure I wanted you involved. But the truth has a way of surfacing. And now I need you to take care of them. Don't call the police. Don't look for me. Just be the father I always knew you could be. Angela. I set the letter down like it was radioactive. I didn't know she was pregnant, I muttered. She never said anything. Dana sat down across from me. Well, they need someone. And if not you, who? I didn't have an answer. I didn't sleep that night either. I sat in the hallway outside the kids' temporary room, my office, hastily converted. I listened to the sounds of their breathing. Quiet, steady. Like they weren't aware the floor had just dropped out from under their lives. But I was. I felt every creak in the house like it was judgment. I dug out an old photo album, back when Angela and I were still pretending to be happy. One photo caught my eye. She was pregnant. It was there, plain as day. I had seen it back then and told myself it was just a heavy coat. Just winter weight. I didn't want to know. The next morning, I made pancakes. The kind my dad used to make when Mom left, thick, lumpy, drowning in syrup. The kids didn't say much, but they ate like they hadn't in days. You guys okay? I asked. Lucy nodded. Sam just looked up at me and said, Are you our real dad? That was the moment I stopped pretending this would go away on its own. We're going to find out, I told him. Together. That afternoon, I drove them to the clinic. DNA tests. Swabs. Signatures. And then we waited. 3 days. That's all it took for the lab to call. I answered on the first ring. Mr. Reed, the text said, the results are in. You're the biological father of both children. I didn't say anything. Just stood there in my kitchen, phone pressed to my ear, while the ice in my glass melted untouched. Angela hadn't just lied. She built an entire world out of silence. And now I was living in the middle of it. But something else gnawed at me, something worse than the betrayal. Why would a woman who fought to keep me away for 5 years suddenly deliver 2 kids to my doorstep like a package marked "Return to Sender"? After the call, I just stood there. The kitchen looked the same: clean counters, chipped coffee mug, calendar still showing last month's dates. But nothing felt familiar anymore. Not the house. Not the silence. Not even the face I saw in the mirror. I was a father. Not metaphorically. Not theoretically. Legally. Biologically. Undeniably. And the woman who made sure I never knew had vanished. I started digging the next morning. I wasn't going to wait for the police or some miracle. Angela left me with a storm and no umbrella, and I wasn't about to drown without asking a few damn questions. First stop, her last known address. Dana had it on a crumpled scrap of paper. She said Angela had moved into a rental outside town 6 months ago, paid cash, stayed off the grid. No job records. No utilities in her name. Just showed up with 2 kids and a fake smile. I pulled up to the place, rundown duplex, peeling paint, overgrown grass. The front door was cracked. Not locked. Not busted. Just open. Inside, it looked like she'd left in a hurry. Clothes still hanging in the closet. Toothbrush still wet in the bathroom. Dresser drawer half open. Diapers and loose change inside. But the worst part? Her phone. Left on the nightstand. No passcode. Angela never forgot details. This wasn't carelessness. This was a message. I powered it up. Last call. A burner number. No ID. Last text. Sent 3 hours before the police found the kids in my truck. He won't say no. He never could. This is how it has to go. Just make sure it's clean. There was no name. Just a contact saved as A. Who the hell was A? Back at home, the kids watched cartoons. Dana offered to stay another night. Said she'd help them adjust. She meant well, but I could see it in her eyes. She didn't believe Angela was coming back. Neither did I. After dinner, I tucked Lucy in. She asked if her mommy was coming back tomorrow. I told her I didn't know. Sam waited until Lucy fell asleep before he said anything. She told us you were a good man, he said. That you were brave. Like a superhero. I laughed once, sharp, humorless. She lied about a lot of things. Sam shook his head. She cried when she left. Said the bad people were coming. Said you'd protect us. And that stopped me cold. Bad people. I went back to the phone. This time, I dug deeper. Emails. GPS pings. She'd been tracking someone. Not me. Not the kids. A man. The name hit me like a sucker punch. Gavin Walsh. I hadn't heard that name since the divorce. He used to work for a financial firm Angela partnered with. Real smooth type, custom suits, Rolex, smiles with no soul behind them. I'd always gotten the sense he was circling her like a vulture. The week after we signed the papers, he quit his job and disappeared from the city. Rumor was he went offshore with a suitcase full of dirty money and a taste for women who didn't ask questions. Angela had found him. There were screenshots, bank transfers, hotel check-ins, even a receipt from a jeweler's in Belize. She'd been tailing him for over a year. Watching. Waiting. Why? Because Angela wasn't stupid. She'd known she was being followed too. Watched. Pressured. And when the walls closed in, she ran. She left the kids with me because I was the only safe place left. At 3 a.m., the doorbell rang. I grabbed the pistol from the drawer. I hadn't needed it in years, but the weight felt familiar. I looked through the peephole. Nothing. Just an envelope. Sitting on the porch like some cursed invitation. Inside, a single Polaroid photo. Angela. Tied to a chair. Bruised. Duct tape over her mouth. And written across the bottom in red ink. You were always the weak link, Alan. Now let's see what you're really made of. The photo slipped from my fingers. Angela. Bound. Blood on her cheek. A bruise blooming across her collarbone like a storm cloud under skin. She was alive. She was in danger. And someone wanted me to know. I stared at the words written beneath the photo. You were always the weak link, Alan. Now let's see what you're really made of. A threat? A dare? A test? I had no idea who wrote it, but I knew what they were trying to do. Pull me out. Shake me up. Get me desperate enough to make mistakes. Too bad for them. I'd already been broken once. The next morning, I called in a favor. Marcus Vance, retired Army intel, now a private investigator with a nasty habit of uncovering things most people would rather leave buried. We served together in a dusty, forgotten part of the world. He saved my life with a .308 shot from a rooftop and a poker face made of granite. We weren't friends. We were bonded by survival. When I told him the story, he didn't blink. Just said, "I'll be there in 5 hours." While I waited, I dug deeper into Angela's trail. Her phone had GPS tags going back months. She'd visited the same storage unit every week for nearly half a year. I drove there just after sunrise. The place was quiet, cold. Rows of rusted units stretching into silence. I paid cash at the desk. Gave a fake name. The clerk didn't care. He barely looked up from his phone. Unit 117. Her last recorded visit, 2 days before the police found the kids. I cracked the lock with bolt cutters. Inside was a duffel bag, a phone charger, a burner laptop, and a box of documents so damning I felt my heart drop. Bank records, names, wire transfers, and one folder labeled GW/offshore holdings/blackmail material. Inside were photos. Gavin Walsh in compromising positions. With women, drugs, briefcases full of money. Angela had been gathering dirt, heavy stuff, enough to ruin him. There was a flash drive taped to the lid of the box, labeled insurance. Back at the house, Marcus was already there, leaning against his beat-up truck, coffee in one hand, Glock on his hip like a polite warning. "You weren't kidding," he said as I handed him the folder. "This is napalm." He flipped through the documents and let out a low whistle. If she was trying to blackmail Walsh, she stepped into a war zone. This guy's not just crooked, he's protected. You go to the cops, it disappears. You go public, you disappear. "She left me the kids to protect them," I said. "She knew they'd come for her." "Or worse," Marcus muttered. I showed him the Polaroid. His face didn't change, but I saw it in his eyes, the calculation, the quiet fury. "She's alive, and they want you to do something." "What do you think it is?" "They're trying to lure me in," I said. "Make me desperate. Maybe force my hand. Or maybe they just want me to burn." Marcus nodded. "Then we burned smarter. We got to work." Marcus dug into Gavin's shell companies, tracing accounts that looped through the Caymans, Luxembourg, Panama. Sloppy laundering for someone who thought he was untouchable. Meanwhile, I played house. The kids, they were starting to settle. Lucy colored in the mornings. Sam followed me around the house like a shadow. Every time I looked at him, I saw the question in his eyes. "Are you going to leave us too?" "No. Not now. Not ever. They were mine. Not by choice. By fate. And I don't run from fate." Then came the second letter. No knock. No footsteps. Just an envelope tucked under the windshield wiper of my truck. This time, there was no photo. Just a note. "You want her back? You'll bring the drive. Alone. Tomorrow. 9 p.m. Pier 47. No cops. No tricks. Or she dies." Marcus read it and didn't say a word. "Tell me not to go," I said. He shook his head. "You're going. But not alone." "Not really." He tapped the flash drive. "We're going to give them exactly what they want." I got there an hour early. Pier 47 had once been a shipping hub. Now it was a ghost town. Rotting planks. Rusted cranes. The scent of dead salt water and broken promises. The kind of place no one asked questions if a man walked in and didn't walk out. I parked 2 blocks away and made the rest of the trip on foot. No visible weapons. No phone. Just the flash drive in my jacket pocket and 1,000 volts of fury buzzing under my skin. But I wasn't alone. Marcus was already in place, half a mile down. Eyes on the water from a rusted-out watchtower. He had a drone overhead and a transmitter in my collar. If things went sideways, he'd know before I hit the ground. "Say the word and I light them up," he said through my earpiece. "No," I whispered. "We don't want them dead." "Yet," Marcus replied. 9:03 p.m. The wind picked up. And then, footsteps. 3 of them. Men in black jackets. One had a lazy gait, like his leg had been broken once and healed wrong. Another walked like he missed his calling in the military, rigid, purposeful. The third? Quiet. Small. Dangerous. They formed a semicircle around me. Guns at their sides but not raised. "Not yet." "You Alan?" the limper asked, voice soaked in mockery. "Depends. You the clowns who kidnapped my ex-wife?" No one laughed. "Where's Angela?" I said. "She's alive. For now," the military one said. "You got what we asked for?" I pulled the flash drive from my jacket, held it up. "Right here." Lazy Leg stepped forward. "Toss it." "No," I said, calm as a grave. "She comes out. I see her. Then you get this. Tension. You could feel it in the wind, in the way their fingers twitched near their weapons. Then, a new voice. From the shadows. That's the Alan I remember. I turned. Gavin Walsh. Same smug smile. Same dead shark eyes. But older. Meaner. The kind of man who'd hurt you with a handshake and charge you interest on the bruises. Well, he said, stepping closer, I didn't think you had the stones. Thought Angela ruined that along with your credit score. She's alive. I asked. He grinned. Depends on what you call alive. She's breathing. She's not happy. But hey, it's what she gets for playing in the deep end. I could feel Marcus breathing through my earpiece, calm but ready. Give me the drive, Gavin said, extending a manicured hand. And maybe I let her go. No, I said. He blinked. I'll give you something better. I reached into my other pocket and pulled out another flash drive, one Marcus had prepared. A decoy. Identical in every way except for the payload inside. A lovely little virus Marcus called Gutterfire. It wouldn't crash Gavin's system. It'd quietly siphon his data and upload it to 3 whistleblower sites and 2 federal agencies the moment he opened the files. I tossed it to his feet. There, I said. Have fun. He signaled one of his men. The flash drive was picked up, pocketed, and that's when Gavin smiled. Cold. Triumphant. Now kill him. The sound of a rifle cracked the night air. But it didn't come from the pier. It came from above. The military guy dropped before his finger touched the trigger. One clean shot, neck to shoulder. Dead before he hit the planks. The other 2 panicked. Turned. Another shot. Lazy Leg went down screaming, clutching his thigh. The 3rd ran. Marcus didn't bother firing. He let him go. But Gavin? He just stood there. Calm. Clapping. Well done, he said. I underestimated you. He reached into his coat slowly, deliberately. I raised my hands. Don't. He pulled out a phone. Not a weapon. Angela's alive, he said. I'm not a liar, Alan. Just a businessman. He tapped a button and held the phone up. Angela's face filled the screen. Swollen lip. Split brow. Tied to a chair. Say something, he said to her. She looked at the camera. Alan, don't trust him. The feed cut. He slid the phone back in his pocket. I'll be in touch, he said. That was just a preview. Then he stepped off the pier, into a waiting speedboat that coasted in from the fog like some ghost story come to life. He vanished into the night. Back in the car, Marcus spoke first. He's not running, he said. He's playing chess. I know, I muttered. I looked down at the real flash drive still in my coat. Gavin thought he won. Thought I handed him the prize. But I had all the pieces. Angela had tried to bring him down and failed. Now it was my turn. Gavin thought he left a message. But what he actually did was light the fuse. Back at the house, I tucked the kids in. Lucy fell asleep gripping that same ragged bunny. Sam stayed awake a little longer. His eyes watched me the way a soldier watches a sentry tower. He knew something was coming. I heard loud bangs tonight, he whispered. I sat on the edge of his bed. Just fireworks, buddy. Nothing to worry about. He didn't believe me. Smart kid. Downstairs, Marcus and I spread everything we had across the kitchen table, Angela's files, the recordings, the photos. Each document, each timestamp, formed a constellation of corruption, money laundering, political bribery, offshore accounts. Gavin's empire was built on other people's blood. Angela hadn't just been blackmailing him. She was building a dossier to dismantle him. And she left it with me. She wanted this to go public, Marcus muttered. But she knew he'd come after her if it did. She figured she had one chance to dump it all in my lap, I said. And vanish. Marcus cracked a cold one from the fridge. Looks like her plan sucked. Maybe, I said. Or maybe she knew I'd finish what she started. Step 1. We hit the digital trails. While Marcus scrubbed metadata and built an anonymized leak pipeline, I tracked down one of Gavin's old shell companies, Calyx Industries, a fake front based out of a rundown warehouse that listed Angela Monroe as a silent partner. How's that for irony? Inside the company registry, I found a list of investors. One name jumped out, Senator Clay Emmons. Corrupt as hell. Slick hair. Always dodging questions about PAC donations and military contracts. So Gavin wasn't just rich, he was protected by power. Now I knew why Angela was running. She hadn't just stolen secrets from a criminal. She'd tried out a network. A machine. And they had her. The next morning, I met with a journalist. Not just any talking head, Rachel DeWitt, ex-Washington Post, now running her own online syndicate called Third Rail. She didn't just report scandals, she started fires. She looked at the flash drive. scanned the folder labeled Insurance, then whistled low. You know this will burn down more than just Gavin, right? This is going to torch a senator, 3 law firms, and at least 2 intelligence contractors. Good, I said. You want to go public with this? Yes, I said, but not until Angela is safe. Rachel paused, then nodded. You've got 72 hours. After that, I'm pulling the trigger. 72 hours. That was the deadline. And Gavin knew it. Because that night, I got a text from a number labeled unknown. Nice try, Alan. Let's renegotiate. Come alone. Same place. Bring the original drive. Or this time, she dies on camera. There was a picture attached. Angela again. But this time, there was something new. A code written on the wall behind her. 4 digits. Spray painted in black. 2714. I stared at it for a long time. It wasn't random. Angela was trying to send me a message. And then it clicked. Her birthday. February 7th. My old street address. 14. Oak Lane. She wasn't just showing me her prison. She was pointing me to the place it started. That night, I broke into the house we used to own. The place we shared before it all fell apart. The place she told me she never wanted to see again. It had been flipped. Gutted. Renovated by some real estate scumbag. But the bones were the same. The basement, unfinished. Still cold. Still damp. And under one of the floorboards, where I once kept an old lockbox of letters and photos, I found it. A second flash drive. Smaller. Hidden in a Ziploc bag. Labeled in her handwriting. Open if I disappear. Inside, a confession video. Angela. Same bruises. Same tired eyes. But this one was recorded before the kidnappers took her. Alan. If you're seeing this, I didn't make it. Or maybe I did, and this is just insurance. Either way, I'm sorry. For everything. I was pregnant when you left. I was scared. I didn't want to raise them in your world, tight, quiet, orderly. I thought I'd build something better. I was wrong. They used me. They used the kids. I played Gavin, and for a while, I was winning. But then I stole the wrong file. And now they want it back. You're not the weak link. You never were. You're the only one they're afraid of. Because you're the one I trusted. Get them safe. Burn the rest. I copied the video. Rachel's expose aired in full the following week. Senator Emmons resigned in disgrace. Several arrests followed. Gavin Walsh disappeared en route to federal holding. Rumor was the people protecting him were now silencing him. But that didn't matter. Because the story was out. The illusion was broken. And I wasn't the weak link anymore.